Innsbruck in Austria, nightfall, and the final run of the Women's Monobob World Series here, the second and deciding heat about to get underway. Welcome back, everybody, to our coverage of this final stop in the strange World Cup Series that we have this year. Our third visit to Innsbruck and our second for Women's Monobob. And John Morgan, it's going to be just as entertaining as all the races we've seen so far.
Yeah, this is a different animal for sure. Melissa Lowholtz, who's won medals on this track before as a brakeman, now she's driving. She's in third. She was fifth last week in Königssee. And Lana Myers-Taylor, second last week in the Monobob race. She had the second best start, as she usually does. Had some little issues on the exit of curve 9 right here. But other than that, she's in a position to win another medal again for the second week in a row. No Kaylee Humphries this week. She took the week off, but here's the surprise of the day, Brianna Walker. Hello, down under. She won the event in Innsbruck here in December. Not so good last week, 7th. But this full field, she had the third best start, and she track recorded at the bottom, and she's the leader. What this will do for spreading the sport down under. Great, great leaderboard right there, Martin. Look at the amount of different countries up there.
And for spreading the sport everywhere as well. There have been 8 monobob races in this season. 15 different athletes have taken a medal. There have been 6 different winners. Well, what about this Innsbruck track then? Where are the key areas? The start is absolutely critical.
Yeah, it's flat, long, you get a chance to run, but you got to get in, get settled, watch the technique. We're going to have fun watching the athletes jump in. And not everybody's figured out how to jump in these monobobs from the back. Up here, there's no steering allowed since the Appia just broke the track record. She's another story we'll talk about. Curve 3, I mean, it lulls you to sleep and then you make a mistake. I mean, this is like layups in basketball. You think it's a given. You make a mistake, you have no chance. Into the Kreisel. You know, this big 280-degree whip around. You exit where you come in. There's the bridge. Curve 8. Curve 9. This is where some problems. You see the back ends of the sleds tail out on you. Curve 10. Well, this is where you start to fly. You're 3 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour slower than the regular two-person bob. Finish curve uphill. Martin, what's the most entertaining of this is that there's so many different elements to the whole race. It's very interesting to me.
Yep, and a whole host of different driver abilities and starting abilities as well. Now, Katy Byle has pulled out of the race. She's got a bit of an injury niggle, and tomorrow she will go for the Crystal Globe in the women's bobsleigh. So entirely understandable if there's even any question mark. She's one of 4 women who could win the title. We start our second and deciding heat here in Innsbruck with Anne van Nieuwenhuis of Belgium. One of our race directors is Anya Schneiderheinter. Can you imagine what Schneidi would have made this? One of Germany's best ever brake women who turned into a world champion and Olympic medal winning driver. She would have loved this.
Well, the darkness is set upon us. You know, the start, well, I mean, Anne gives up so much time at the start. She had 6:27 in both runs. Good driver. But on this short 1,250-meter track, with the start emphasis on this track is probably more important than the other 17 tracks on the planet. And got a good start. It basically tells you, you know, just to have good lines, you get to the bottom, you'll have a good time. Very easy to get down, Martin. Very difficult to get down with the best time.
I love racing under lights with bobsled. There's something very special about the isolation of the white track. There's Sarah Ertz, her brake woman. 56.34 for Anne. That's quicker than her first heat by nearly a 1/10 of a second. And found another 100th at the start. Kind of takes us back to the early days when skeleton and women's bob was on a different tour, and quite often, John, it'd be Wednesday night, Thursday night races.
Yeah, live on Eurosport all the time, and but you know the lights here, Martin. I don't think sometimes they've got consistent lighting in this part of the track. There's a couple parts of the track where it's not exactly the same, but I don't think it bothers the drivers. I mean, Steve Holcomb used to fly blind. He said, you know, he drove with instinct. So, but Martin, I think the important thing is the diversity of the different ways that the athletes jump in at the start. So keep your eyes on that. Not everybody's got it figured out. There's a different technique than a normal brakeman.
The sled. And some are vaulting in.
Jump in. Yeah, some just vault in, which I don't think is smart. Let's see what this young Russian athlete, Makarova, does. There, she gets in pretty good. One stop and then down, you know, but it's different than jumping in the back of a bobsled as a brakeman. It's certainly different than the drivers are used to. But not everybody's doing it well. She got 4/10 lead, Martin, and that's because she's got a 1700s lead at the start. She had some problems down here in curve 9. Let's watch what happens this time. Really high there in Kreisel. 4/10. Second best speed. This is where she had problems in the first heat. Boy, she was late and the sled came straight, so she didn't try and steer away from that mistake. Losing time back, she's going to be the leader.
Just 22 years old. She's done 3 Monobob races this season, a couple of last year in the old plank sleds as well. And she was in the Junior Worlds last weekend in Samaritz. 16 Winterberg, 10th in Samaritz. She's going to end up with a 13th, 14th place finish here, perhaps.
You see the way the back end of the sled just, you know, it's weird. And then here she flops it off there, but she comes straight. Here's another look at it. She's late there, Martin. She's up on where nobody else has got marks on the ice. And then comes crashing down. And when she crashes down, you see that spray comes up. That creates pressure on the ice, friction. That slows you down.
Well, Makarova definitely an athlete for the future for Russia. Next up is Miesha Mcneil of Great Britain. 6:15 the start. And she got hooked up trying to get into the sled as she jumped over the seat back. Her feet caught on the top edge of the cowl. And it took her 2 or 3 efforts to get into the sled, so she might be a little bit more cautious this time. And all this technique, John, this is what's going to change, isn't it, for next year?
Sure. Listen, in the 2-man bobsled, or even in the driver's position, mostly in the 2-man or 4-man, there's the power step into the sled, and that's a technique. And when you're dealing with hundreds of seconds, any way to increase your velocity, especially at the start, is, you know, it's what you want to do. And jumping in the sled like she did in the first heat, bouncing up and down, that wasn't a velocity move for sure. Green numbers, only 1800s, Martin. Great line there. She can drive. Martin, I think she almost had a medal on this track. Was it this track? She almost medaled on last year in the 2-person.
Yeah, she's had a couple of 4th place finishes. Altenburg 2 years ago, she was leading after the first heat and dropped out of the medals. 56.12.
So she's slower by 100. Yeah. She's the first of the 3 sleds that has gone slower.
Great woman Montel Douglas there will be in tomorrow's race. They race the 2-seater sleds tomorrow. And like Anne van Nieuwenhuis, one of the most petite of the athletes, and that means light athlete, heavy sled.
Yeah, there's a maximum weight with the driver and the sled, so the bigger you are, the lighter the sled to push. Martin, these are as good a lines as anybody's. A little bit of drift to the right side of our screen, but you did not see much spray coming off those runners. Good driver.
Yeah. Needs more go at the start. And that's what she gets with Monty on the back of the sled in the 2-man in the women's race. Well, next up is Mariama Yamanka. Ninth best start, 12th at the bottom of the track. And the Olympic champion was shown how to get the best out of these sleds by her Olympic medal winning brakewoman, who will be up next, who is quicker than her in the sled.
Good entry into the sled. We saw all three German pilots. Obviously, they've worked dry land or on the push track getting in these sleds. Some of the athletes you can see, don't have that much experience, and it's almost like a gymnastics move, Martin. It's not a gimme. Mariana, well, if there's anybody perplexed in the field, it's this athlete here about monobobs. She came out in the media and said she didn't like them. And she's 10 to 15th, and the Germans will have 3 women's drivers in next year's competition in the 2-person, and they'll have 3 in the monobob, and I don't think they'll take 4 total drivers. They'll take the same 3 that compete in the 2-person will compete in the women's monobob. 55.86. That's a much better run. 2,200 better.
The quotas, the head count is so low in the Olympic Games now, you can't afford to take a 4th driver and boot out your possible spare brakewoman, because then you might end up with 2 brakewomen in 3 sleds.
But you got the Olympic champion brakewoman who's driving the sled. I mean, that gives you some flexibility there that, the Canadians, we're going to come up, we're going to see the Canadian athlete who's got that start record, Cynthia Appia. She's the best brakeman they got, and she's got the the track record at the start. Jamaica still got to figure this out.
Yeah, that might be Renee Species' get out of jail card. Have Lisa Buchvitz there as a women's bob push athlete and a monobob driver. And this is Lisa Marie Buchvitz, Olympic champion in 2018. Immediately started driving. She won here in Europa Cup the week after the World Cup, in fact, no, 2 weeks ago, and she was the silver medalist in the Junior Worlds in women's bobsleigh last week in St. Moritz. Struggles a little to get in, but 5.92.
Same exact start as she had in the first run. Martin, how about this? The Olympic champion driver from 218 just came down, and now the Olympic champion brake person, her teammate, is coming down now. That's what makes this so interesting, is that it gives not only brakemen immediately a good chance of getting up in the front seat quicker, because it's a great training device, but it gives nations like Australia a chance to compete equally with the Germans driving an equal sled.
Now, Lisa Buchvitz dropping behind Mariana Manka, 800s back. Little loose going down the lower labyrinth. Has she got enough speed? No, I think Yamanka picks one up. She does.
Yeah, so she's only 900s better. Yamanka was about 2/10 better. And I think Yamanka's, her brakeman almost beat her. I mean, again, it's weird, Martin. All of these dynamics we're talking about. The selection, it's the selection, how to get in the sled. To watch her one step in onto the top of the driver's seat, but then she couldn't get down cleanly. This is up top. Can't make mistakes up top or the speeds are slow. And then this is the Kreisel. And in Beijing, it's not the Kreisel. It's a 360 like this, but it's called the Spiral. I still haven't heard from our producer, Martin Verstrate, if it's a long Kreisel or a short, tight one like we had in Königssee last week.
So Lisa
We're hearing now it's more than 360.
Yeah, it's a big old beast. Mariana Manka leads from Lisa Buchvitz and Miesha Mcneil. 10th after first of our 2 heats here in Eagles was Kim Uran from Korea. 14th best start, 10th at the bottom of the track. We saw her first last week in Königssee, and she knows how to drive these sleds.
Well, she got 4th last week. She was the biggest story for me. I mean, Kaylee Humphries winning by 6/10. Well, Kaylee Humphries has won medals at the last 3 Olympics. So, I mean, Alana Myers was 2nd. Stephanie Schneider was 3rd. This athlete here 4th, that caught my attention, Martin, especially because she had a deficient start time. Not so good on this track, but this track's different. Yeah. The track at Koenigsee is more of a driver's track. This is more of a start track. She didn't do so well in the first heat today, and she's probably in danger of dropping a couple places right here.
Best speed, though, so far. You're right, she will lose ground. She's coming back, though. Higher speed at the bottom. Currently from Anne van Nieuwenhuis. And Kim goes quicker. Top speed to the Korean driver. She went from 4th to 3rd, so she does lose a couple of spots behind Jamanka and Buchvitz. So Jamanka will be no worse than 10th place. 9 sleds to go. The Olympic champion leads in this new Monobob World Series discipline. Ivo Danilevich is ever down there at the bottom.
Look at the spray off the runners. Friction. Not bad. Look how straight she comes, Martin. She gets over there a little bit to the right. You want to be a little bit over 3-4 inches over on the left side of our screen to get on the take on to 10 on your turns, so you don't have to steer.
Her big challenge in 12 months' time is her start is 4500ths off the quickest in the field. And you know, that is, those gaps will narrow, and the fast starters will be the fast finishers. Next up, Alicia Wristling for Canada. 11th best start, 9th at the bottom. Riss had not driven this sled before this week.
Doesn't faze her with her personality, Martin.
Yeah.
Gets in, one of the tallest. She's not the tallest, she's the second tallest in the field. Greco from Romania is coming up, and tall, and basketball player at University of Calgary. And her only bronze medal, Martin, was in the Olympic test in 2017 in the 2-person sled in Pyeongchang. But took last year off, she was hurt. So she's getting her feet wet with the Monobob.
Third best speed, not far away from Jamanka. She's holding her lead, John. 1400s
to 70. She's pulling away now, Martin. Boy, she did a lot of Robin Hood there, though. She had to steer hard in that second labyrinth. 55.86, much, 600's better. Jamanka is gone. And Alicia Wristling is the leader. Yeah, you're always going to get a quote and a comment out of her.
Yeah, 5'10" a character, isn't she? 6:02, that was the start time. Damn it, wanted to go quicker.
Exit here.
You were...
Yeah, little tap there, that's costly. She was accelerating away on the bottom, Martin. You take that mistake away, she could have another 10th.
Well, this is the third of 3 Canadian sleds in the field, the one who has no prior experience of Monobob. Next up is Anya Greco. She does have prior experience of Monobob. She's driven them for the last couple of years. This is, in fact, her 9th Monobob race and her 5th in these new sleds. They're brand new for this season, different design with a split cowl, so they drive more like a 2-seat bob, not quite the same.
Let's watch her get in. So she jumped it. Of course, she's so long and tall, Martin. She's got the leverage where she can jump and reach the front, so compared to Anne van Nieuwenhuis, who's just 5'4", she's got a couple steps to get into the sled.
Yeah, you have to start looking for long jumpers and gymnasts to get into these sleds.
It's a technique, 2000s lead, 6th best speed. I think that 2000s is going to improve. Here comes back to the field. Here, not good, hard, not good at all. Could be down to single digits here.
Yeah.
4, yeah, it's going to be, she lost a lot of speed up there in that exit of 9. Maybe not.
And
Maybe yes.
400's back. Yeah. So, as we said in the first heat, no matter how much experience you've got, 2 races, 3 races, 4 races in these sleds, everybody is trying to figure it out. What the runners are needed, what you've got to do to get the best out of the sled, how to load, how the push start works. Remember last week we were seeing athletes rocking the sled. Stephanie Schneider was rocking the sled before the big hit.
Watch the hit here too. She's little skid, little Tokyo, what do you call that? The Tokyo slide?
Tokyo drifting, yeah, that was Kaylee's
drifting
expression.
On the back, and then hard hit here, and then she tries to steer out of that hit. Now she's the golden parachute right there. Martin, she had 20/100ths above Kreisel. A lot of it
Women's
went away
World
right
Cup
there.
standings, by the way, mathematically still with a chance at the Crystal Globe. It's not going to happen, but the maths say it could. Kim Kalicki is out of the hunt for the Crystal Globe, despite the fact that she has not been off the podium. I beg your pardon, no, she's still in the hunt. She's not been off the podium all year. In women's bob, what can she do here?
98 start. Well, 99 in the first run. Thought she'd start better than that, Martin. Ooh, mistake there. And really bumpy. We've been talking about how bumpy the track is. Martin 600's third best speed.
It'll be close.
600's now. She's
really
got it back
close.
online. She's got it. Yeah, she's got it back online now, like we expect. She's shown how good of a driver she is, not being off the podium in any race this year in the 2-person bob, but it's down to 200s. Close your eyes. Either way.
Duck your head.
Oh, her first tie.
See, if she'd done the Anne van Nieuwenhuis head duck there, she'd be the leader on her own, but it is a tie.
First, but you have to share the leader's box.
Well, she was 7th here in December. She'll be no worse than 6th, so this will be her best of 3 monobob results for Kim Kalicki, because she was 10th in Koenigsegg last week.
Pretty good there. No Tokyo drift. Runner tips. Let's watch for the spray. Pretty good. That one little spot that gets chewed up, Martin. Every sled does that, but pretty good. But she lost some time, Martin.
You know she can drive.
But she didn't lose her spot. Yeah, she didn't lose her spot.
Exactly. Joint leader, Kim Kalicki and Alicia Wristling with 5 to go. Next up, the first of our Canadian battlers. Either Cynthia Appia or Melissa Lotholtz will go to the World Championships and race in women's bob next week. Whoever finishes on top in this race will get it, and they're 700ths apart, John.
Big start difference there, 586, Martin. She started 576 in the first run, 900ths difference. And Martin, she doesn't have the experience. You know, Altenburg is going to be a big test. Oh, this is not Altenburg, this track. There's a lot of Koenigsegg personality in that Altenburg track. I mean, that's like Darlington or NASCAR. That track's too tough to tame. This here is pretty good place to learn how to drive. 4/10 lead. There's no way she can throw it away. That's what we think.
Sled breaking into a skid even as the words are leaving your mouth.
Oh yeah, she's the leader. Hung in there pretty good. You might get down to the 20s, Martin, but this is an athlete who never drove 2-person sleds. You know, she's right into the monobobs. I mean, that's what makes this monobob sport intriguing. And the rules and regs and the selection procedures.
All right, well,
you would have given her 9 more hundredths at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just heard the start time. But she would have given her the 9 more hundredths. This was a better drive than her first run, Martin. But, you know, she set the track record at the start in the first run. This is the best athlete in the field. And I'm sure Canada knows it. Once she figures out how to not make the sleds go sideways, watch out.
So Cynthia Appia is our leader with 4 to go. Kim Kilicki in second, tied with Alicia Wristling, and Greco in 4th. So 4 sleds remain. This is Nadezhda Sergeva, the first woman to win a race in the new generation of monobobs. That was back in December in Winterberg. She didn't race here in Innsbruck. The Russian team weren't here because of COVID problems. 13th in St. Moritz, 11th in Königssee. How far from a medal? 600ths.
96 in the first run, 93, so she got within 700ths of Appia. Her and Appia are separated by 100th. We've already got 1 tie down there, Martin. Maybe we'll have a 3-way tie. Who knows?
It's 700ths
possible,
back, isn't it?
Now, this athlete's been on driving for 5-6 years on tour. She's got way more experience in the front seat than Cynthia Appia. 600ths to 500ths. Speed, only the 8th best speed. That's suspect.
It's very skiddy. It's very skiddy.
Down to 10, not going to do it. Wow.
No.
This is a big
She's not going to take a middle here. Cynthia Appia might. Okay, here's a question.
In there.
What happens if Appia and Lotholtz are tied? Then what does the coach do? Who had the best single run?
What's going on here? Look.
Disappears. She hates it.
Yeah, she disappears. Frustrated. Oh, she's a very competitive athlete.
55.92. She hates her run. The sled was skidding 4 square just about everywhere.
She hurt?
She didn't have control.
She hurt, Mark?
I don't know.
Is she hurt?
Don't know.
See the way she walks back. Yeah, she hit before 8. That didn't help. Look at, she falls back. Is she frustrated, just screaming at herself?
Yeah, I think
she's just letting out a little air.
Yeah.
I think the disappointment's written on her forehead. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of this young lady, and that's not a happy Nadezhda. All right, 3 to go. We have a Canadian 1. Well, not 1-2 now, because Kilicki and Wristling are down to 3rd. Canadian leader, Cynthia Appia. Canadian challenger, Melissa Lotholtz. 3rd after the first heat. One of them will get a medal. Maybe 2.
Same start as the first run. And this athlete here, she's won on this medals on this track before, sliding with Kaylee Humphries, who's now sliding for the United States, but not sliding tonight, even though she won last week's race. So here comes a big heat for Melissa Lotholtz. She's got clean lines. She made a little mistake, got a curve 3 mark, 1200ths with the best speed. She should start pulling away now. And she does.
And this could be
great lines
Melissa
there.
Lotholtz driving herself into World Championship position.
2100s. This is a perfect run. Great start.
This is a race off with Appia for the final sled spot, and she wins it. She's in the medals. Well, that makes Graham Richardson's choices a little easier. It was, as I understand it, a straight fight in the monobob. And Melissa Lotholtz uses her slightly better driving experience to grab her first medal here in Eagles as a driver. She was the winner in Eagles in the Europa Cup race here in January, 2 weeks ago.
There's that tap. There's the tap up top. Top speed. Look who's got the top speed. The athlete with the worst start in the field. Kim from Korea. She could drive. If she could get to start, she could challenge.
And Anne van Nieuwenhuis as well. The 2 slowest starters have the 2 top speeds. They can drive.
Well, they also went early.
The other teams,
they also went early.
And the other team, yeah,
they went
that's
early.
true. Mind you, it's getting colder and later, 6 p.m. now. The other teams might have to look at what runners some of the top speed merchants are using. So 2 to go. Alana Myers-Taylor took a silver medal last week. She was 5th in St. Moritz. Those are her only 2 monobob drives. So she is as short on experience in these machines as most of the rest of the field. But former brakewoman and one of the real standouts as a driver pusher, what can she do here?
Good. 2 steps into that front seat. 580 in the first run, 583 here. Second best velocity. And, you know, there's not much difference between her and Melissa Loholtz. Only 800ths. It's up to 15. Now, Alana had some issues down on the exit of 9. Whoa, there's a little skid there, too. 10th best speed. That's not a good sign. And on the wrong side of 8. Down it came back 100. Now, here's where her problem was in the first run. Same thing almost.
It's reacting too fast.
17. She's got enough in the bank, Martin. She's got it.
Yeah.
Another silver medal for at least Alana Myers. 55, right. 52, 300's better. Better drive through 9. She still made the mistake, but not as bad as she did in the first run.
Yeah, the upper labyrinth was a little skiddy as well. 4, 5, 6. You saw the exit of 6 down to 7.
Here's the 9. Look at the runner tips. She's going to come over to the right side of our screen and bang, but doesn't get a. She got a skid out of it, but not as bad as the first run. Martin, she was sideways there in the first run. This is down in the second part of the labyrinth. Air there into the third labyrinth turn. Runners on the ice, yes.
Big flop at 75
2
miles
silver
an
medals
hour,
at least.
Yeah. She leads with 1 sled remaining, and Brianna Walker, the winner of the Monobob World Series race here in December in the World Cup field, leads after the first heat. She broke her own track record. She broke her own start record. That was then lowered again by Cynthia Appia. I don't think she's going to get the start record. She doesn't care so much about that. It's the gold medal that she wants.
Start 88, 4,500 slower, but she's got 1,700's lead. That should come back to 12 or 13 at the next clock if everything's normal. This would do something for the sport in Australia, up to 19. So Martin, she's got great velocity getting in that sled.
Yeah.
But you know, this is different. Innsbruck's different than Koenigsee. Last week she's 7, down to 16, 10th best speed. I think that's just related to the track slowing down. What this is going to do for the sport down under? The sport in Asia Pacific.
It's going to hand them a second gold medal. I don't think we're in track record territory.
She's going to do
although
it.
The track is quick. How quick is it? Not quite. So.
Wow. This is a big deal, Martin. And I'm sure Ivo Ferriani, our president, is watching, and I'm sure he's beaming, because here is an example of a small nation that struggles to compete in the sport because of the money and the expenses, the fact you need 2 people. Look at this.
Well, and also a driver, John, who's only been racing bobsleds for a couple of seasons. She's done a handful of World Cup races. Tomorrow will be her 10th World Cup start. And she's taken 2 world-class gold medals here in Innsbruck in December and now again today.
Martin,
so Brianna Walker.
Other point, Martin. Other point. She's driving the same exact sled as everybody else.
Yep.
So that neutralizes the tech advantage that the Germans, the Americans, Canadians, you know, have. And, you know, she's got equal. All she needs is a good set of runners. The same runners she'll use in tomorrow's race. Martin, I'm really becoming a big fan of women's monobob. Liking it.
You've always embraced the new, John, when it comes to the TV production and the production of the sport and the presentation of the sport, and this is as new as it gets. Brianna Walker, the winner, from Alana Myers-Taylor and Melissa Loholtz, ahead of Cynthia Appia, Nadezhda Sergeeva, and Kim Kilicki tying with Alicia Wristling. Anya Greco 8th ahead of Mariama Yamanka and Lisa Buchvitz, and that is Yamanka's best race. She was 8th here in Innsbruck before. And Yuran Kim, Well, great speed from her and Van Nieuwenhuis as well, down at the bottom of the track, but they just don't have the starts to be able to match the best. But Bree Walker, a winner here in December, a winner here in January. She is still one of the absolute front runners in the Women's Monobob World Series.
And we're going for a World Championships in a couple of weeks, Martin. Yeah. World Championships.
That is going to be...
To think Australia could win a medal? Wow.
Do you know what? Wow. It is possible. It's a real driver's track, and I'm not sure how well she knows Altenburg, but she can drive these sleds.
Altenburg is a different animal than Innsbruck. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Different horse to ride.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, it's like national hunt racing compared to flat racing. It's a very different thing, and some different skills are required. Well, that's it for, what day are we today? Saturday already. Final day of World Cup racing comes up on Sunday here in Innsbruck. 4-man in the morning, women's bob in the afternoon. Both Crystal Globes are up for grabs. Join John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew for all the action. We'll see you then. Stay safe. Bye for now.